One of the players that you mentioned has been in copious amounts of trade talks. He's been on Saravalli's board. He's been on Pagnotta's board. That's Reilly Smith. And according to David Pagnotta of the fourth period, there are 4 destinations for Reilly Smith as of right now. I want to ask you, Horwat, which of these 4 is the best fit for the Penguins veteran forward? The Vegas Golden Knights, a return there. The Los Angeles Kings, who have already opened up a little bit of cap space, exchanging P.L. Dubois for Darcy Kemper. The Colorado Avalanche, looking to get back into the swing of things after a couple years without a Stanley Cup final appearance. Or the newly minted Utah Hockey Club. Of those 4, Horwat, what do you think is the best fit for Reilly Smith and for a trade for the Pittsburgh Penguins?
I think this is an interesting one because on paper, is it not the Vegas Golden Knights? Just a return. The last thing he did there was lift a cup over his head. That on paper, that just seems like the best fit. Clearly, he played there for 6 seasons. The first 6 seasons, became an integral piece of that organization. Like I said, won the cup there, and then didn't necessarily ride off into the sunset. Vegas did what Vegas does, and not necessarily axed him for nothing, like they've done with some of their guys over the years. It wasn't as harsh of an exit, I would say, at least, as maybe they gave to Fleury or some of the other names that are escaping me. But they said, thank you for your service. Goodbye. On paper, it makes sense just to return. They have to figure out some cap finagling, but there's that on paper makes a ton of sense. In reality, I would say probably goes to Los Angeles. I just don't see Colorado going for that sort of veteran. The poor season that Reilly Smith had, I just don't think Colorado would work to the full extent. And Utah is just interesting. I can't pin them as taking guys in because I don't know what kind of team they're trying to build, really. I get it's just, Arizona moved, but it seems like with a new team, they should try and at least restructure a lot. So I'd go with LA just because that's a veteran group that knows how to win a cup. It's not like it's not like they're dry of players that have won it before. Mm-hmm. They'd be adding that new name, maybe as a depth piece there, something kickstarts, and maybe he helps grow the game of Quentin Byfield and the other youngsters that are there. It's such an interesting team if they can. Well, they just kind of locked up a goal, even though I don't think Darcy Kemper's all that. But if Darcy Kemper can prove to be a good goaltender, and Anze Kopitar, Andrew Doughty can kind of ride off into the sunset in the right way and help those youngsters grow, that could be a great spot for Reilly Smith.
Yeah, it gets him back to the southwest of the United States, which is, I think, what him and his family desire. Now, again, you mentioned Vegas would be grade A for him. But here's the thing. Vegas is not going to be able to re-sign Jonathan Marchessault, who's an unrestricted free agent. Vegas is also probably going to have to trade Shea Theodore this offseason. Why are they going to bring in $5 million of Reilly Smith, right? Like, if they were going to choose between Shea Theodore, a guy who has been up for multiple Norris trophies, Jonathan Marchessault, a guy who was a Conn Smythe winner for you during that cup run, or Reilly Smith, who in his own right was good with the Vegas Golden Knights. But of those 3, I'm making some space for the other 2 before I'm making space for Reilly Smith. I mean, that's just a personal preference, but I also, you look at them and they have, I think, $1 million in cap space, and they don't have a lot of players that they can trade out. I don't think Shea Theodore with the Penguins current blue line fits.
Nope.
It's feels like Ryan Graves, but better offensively. Like that's what it feels like. And I understand Shea Theodore is a guy that is a top tier defenseman in this league, but I just don't think he fits what the Penguins have right now. The LA Kings are interesting. It's not my vote, but if you could get Gavrikov off of them, then yeah, I'd like that, because that brings you 1 year, $5+ million around the same salary cap space, and it solves one of your biggest issues on the back end. But again, that's unlikely. Colorado's unlikely to me as well, because they have $16 million in salary cap space, but 6 forwards signed currently. 6. They got to sign 7 forwards with $16 million, not to mention they have to make some additions, I believe, on the blue line as well. So to me, winner, go to Utah. Have fun with that. $43 million in salary cap space right now, loaded with draft capital. If you look at their cap friendly before it goes away, they have more second round picks than the Penguins have picks in the next 2 drafts, I feel like. You look at what they have it by way of, assets to send back in the Penguins way. There's just so much there that it's going to be a drop in the bucket to what they have in draft capital. And they're going to get a solid veteran forward to play with a very, very young forward core over there. Even Clayton Keller, I believe, is like 28 years old, and he's one of the oldest players on that forward core. So you get a guy like Reilly Smith who's going to be able to come in, play a middle 6 role for them, and kind of shepherd those young guys along in the first year of an organization. It's not like not first year of an organization. First year, it's a move. But again, it's something that is not new to Reilly Smith, who was in that first year with the Vegas Golden Knights. He can go out there to Utah and do the same thing. I feel like the Utah Hockey Club, to me, of these 4, is the best fit for not just Smith, the player, but also as far as what the Penguins can get back in the other end.
Yeah, especially for what the Penguins can get back. I wasn't thinking too much of that in my answers, just more or less looking at where Smith fits the best. If it comes down to what the Penguins can't get in return, yeah, absolutely. You want to take all that draft capital, or at least as much draft capital as possible, from a team that is going to just be busy, just adding names, handing out that, I like it, I like the sweater, don't care, handing out that uniform to a bunch of kids. I could, that makes sense. So Utah also would probably be my second choice in terms of where he fits best. But when it comes to that return, Utah might edge out Los Angeles.
I don't mind the sweater either. The question that I have for you is, if they stick with Utah Hockey Club, good or bad?
Very bad. Name. Get a team name in there. It was bad when Washington, the Commanders, did it. I can't think of anyone else who's done it because it's bad. It's just a bad idea. You need a mascot to get behind.
Yeah, give me the Yeti. Give me the Utah Yeti. Yeah, it would be better if it was Yetis, but also didn't even think about this. Do you think there's a trademark issue with the cup brand Yeti? No, because they wouldn't have it as an option at this point.
I doubt it. But also, didn't the Golden Knights had issues, I think, trademarking themselves, and they were playing games. That being said,
not to mention the Kraken and the rum. So I digress on that point, but still.
Yeah, I'd say literally the worst name of the group of 40 that we saw initially, the worst name on that list is going to be better than Hockey Club, because give me a mascot, give me a name that is not just, this isn't soccer. And I mean that in the most endearing way, because those teams are called FC or HC, or sorry, not HC, FC or SC. Yeah. Because of old school soccer and old school football used to actually be clubs, dudes from a neighborhood. And now they're big giant organizations, so it's a little different, but there's history there. That the first hockey teams had names. Okay, guys. So that's all.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to say about this, going off of team names, stuff like that, the LA Kings, team you mentioned as probably one of the better fits, Arthur Kaliyev seemingly on his way out of there. Do you think that a guy that is all gas, no brakes, even at the age of 22, would get a fair shake in Mike Sullivan's system?
I think so, because it's one of those situations where Kyle Dubas might not give Mike Sullivan a choice.
A little money ball. Yeah, you can't not play him if he's the only guy there.
Yeah, if you only have young guys, you have to play young guys. Have fun. Yeah. It's well, what's one of the? There's a ton of quotes in that movie, so I'm not even gonna try and pick one out. But that's it. If he doesn't have the options, he's not gonna play the older guys. So yeah, he would have a chance.
You can't play Pena. Yeah, I can. He plays for the Detroit Tigers or wherever they traded Carlos Pena. I love that movie. Moneyball is always a great. But no, I'm intrigued to see where Reilly Smith ends up. It's funny because we've been talking about it for 2 months as if it's already a predetermined outcome. So we'll see what happens at the end of it. I don't think the Penguins get back their 3rd round pick, but if they can get Arthur Kaliyev, I think that is fair. Right. I think it makes up for it a little bit, because you have a 22-year-old, still very young, still a lot of development to go, with a lot of offensive potential, a lot of potential to become a steady middle 6 guy for you for years to come. So that would be great. I don't know if that actually works out. I don't know if Rob Blake would be happy with that, but it seems like Arthur Kaliyev just doesn't have a home in Los Angeles anymore. Maybe he'll have a home in Pittsburgh.